We all know form is a very important thing in football. Let's have a little look at what the Premier League table could look like at the end of the season if all the Premier League teams keep up their current run of form. Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another video. Do make sure as ever to hit that like button. We'll go for 255 likes on this video. Do make sure as well to subscribe. We're trying to hit 30,000 subscribers by the end of the season in May. So do make sure to like and do subscribe for more Premier League content like this. As I say guys, this is not a prediction. This is not my opinion on where I think things will go. It's just a calculation using the current run of form that the Premier League teams are in. For example, if Crystal Palace have 10 games left, we're going to use the points they've picked up in their last 10 and add it on to their next 10. I'm not saying this is going to be entirely accurate, guys. Everyone does have different fixtures to play. Some teams might have more winnable games upcoming, but we're just going to have a little look at the current run of form and where it would take each Premier League team if they were to continue it. Let's get into the Premier League table, starting from the bottom and working our way up. Let's start with AFC Bournemouth then, who are bottom here with 32 points. I don't think 32 points has ever been enough to stay up in the Premier League, and I don't think that's going to change this season. If they get to 32 points, they'll have probably come just a few points short of staying up, as I think 35 or 36 will probably be enough this season. AFC Bournemouth's run of form at the moment is okay. It's got them to pick up maybe another couple of wins in their final stretch of games, but seeing as they're currently in that bottom three, they need it to be a little bit better for them to get out of it. I think AFC Bournemouth have got a chance like anyone down here, but this table says AFC Bournemouth will come bottom. Next up, we have got Crystal Palace, who are also on 32 points. Now, it is worth pointing out Crystal Palace are in the worst form in the Premier League out of any team, but there's been big change there with obviously Vieira going out and Roy Hodgson coming in, and whether you think Roy Hodgson's going to be a success at Crystal Palace in the short term, long term or whatever, you've got to admit Crystal Palace's upcoming games are certainly more winnable. Yes, they're 6-pointers, and if they lose them, they'll be gifting points to teams around them, as we've said before. But surely they're going to grind out enough wins down here to get themselves over the line this season. I think it's going to be tight for Crystal Palace, but the current form does have them heading towards the bottom three, but I do see them improving a little bit. The other team are Leicester City, who are only going to get to 33 points. Their form isn't great, especially their last 5 games where they've only picked up 1 point. Once again, Leicester City do have some winnable fixtures upcoming, but they are currently sat 17th, and the team below them at the moment is West Ham, who do have a game in hand on Leicester. It's going to be very close. Leicester City really do need a spike in form to get away from this bottom three. The current form has them to finish in that bottom three. Let me know what you think, Leicester fans. Do you think you're going to be all right? The current form says you're not. On to the rest of the relegation battling teams, and these are the teams surviving. Next up, we have Southampton, who are going to creep over the line with 34 points. I do think Southampton could get to 34 points this season, but whether that will be enough come the end of the season, we don't know. With this table, it will be, because Leicester City and Crystal Palace have absolutely collapsed, meaning Southampton have just popped their head above the water. Southampton's form over the last 10 games doesn't look like a bottom side, but because they are currently that bottom side, they might need it to improve just a little bit more. I think if Southampton get to 36 points this season, it will be enough to keep them up, but at the moment on this form table, 34 will actually keep Southampton up. Another team on 34 points are West Ham United. Their form's not great at the moment as well. They have got some winnable fixtures as well coming up, and with that game in hand, this has got them just creeping above that dotted line to safety, but it will be close if it's like this for West Ham United. I must point out their next game after this international break is Southampton at home. Looking at this form table, how massive could that game be? The next team after that are Leeds United. I think Leeds are going to stay up this season. When I did my Premier League relegation predictions, I did put Leeds up to 12th place. This table has got them to finish in 15th. Leeds United's form over the last 10 games has been okay. Their form over the last 4 games, though, is very good. Since Grazia's come in, they have been very good. So I think personally they will get above 36 points, and once again, they've got some massive winnable games coming. That game in hand at home to Nottingham Forest coming up in a week or so is absolutely massive for Leeds United. Leeds fans, do you think you're going to stay up? This table says you will, and I think you will as well. The next team are Everton, who are going to get up to 37 points with their current run of form. We all must say Sean Dyche is doing a fantastic job there. Everton have currently played a game more than most and 2 games more than some, but I just think the way that Sean Dyche has made them so hard to beat, and the teams they're picking up points against, like a draw at Chelsea and a win against Brentford, no one would have seen that that coming when they had Lampard at the helm. So the form table has Everton to stay up. I personally think Everton will stay up as well. And I must say to the Everton fans, I do like Everton. I know some of the Everton fans got so heated when we spoke about a possible points deduction with the financial mess that's going on at Everton at the moment. But it was just a talking point, and by no means do I have a vendetta against Everton. I like Everton. They're a good club, and I would like them to stay up as they are a traditional Premier League club. The next team are Nottingham Forest, up to 39 points on this table. Forest's form over the last 5 or 6 games isn't very good at all, but their form over the last 11, which is what we're measuring here, is quite good. They've got a couple wins in there. I do think out of all these teams down here at the moment, Nottingham Forest's next 2 games are probably the most decisive because they've got a very tough run of games after they've played Wolves and Leeds. As I say, they've still got Southampton at home and Crystal Palace away. They're big games as well. This form table does have Nottingham Forest to survive. I do also have Nottingham Forest to still survive this season, but I think the Forest fans are starting to feel the heat and the pressure. Can they just do enough to get over the line in their first Premier League season back? Next up, Wolves, who have finished top out of all these Premier League relegation fighters on 40 points, which would be a great return here. You've got to say, Wolves have been brilliant since the new manager came in. I know it's been 3 defeats in their last 4, but we're measuring Wolves over the last 10 games, and theirs is the best out of all these teams in the bottom 9. So it does have Wolves up to 40 points. Despite Wolves really being in the thick of this relegation battle down here with how tight it is on points, I do feel like Wolves are a team that a lot of people are confident of to stay up this season despite it being close. Next up we have the top half and the top 6 battle. First up we've got Chelsea, who come 11th here. Their form over the last 10 games or so isn't great, and it does have Aston Villa going past them. Obviously Chelsea fans want to be looking up the table. They'll want to try and catch Fulham or even Brentford this season, but with this current run of form it does have Chelsea to drop a place at this moment in time. I think a lot of people are starting to think Chelsea's Premier League season is done and dusted. They're not going to be making Europe this season. I suppose all eyes are on the Champions League, although that does look very tricky against Real Madrid and the path they have to get to the final. It's going to be a big summer for Chelsea. Are they going to stand with Potter going into the future? As for this season, it's a bit of a write-off. Next up are Aston Villa, who are going to jump into that top 10. Got to say, Unai Emery is doing a fantastic job at Aston Villa. Their form over the last 10-11 games or so does have them on a trajectory to get to about 55 points this season, which is nearly into the top 9 as well. But just to get into the top 10 would be a great achievement for Villa this season, considering all the turmoil in the middle of the season when they had Gerrard and the results weren't going their way. Unai Emery's got to come in for a lot of credit. Villa look very good at the moment, you must say. Next up, you've got Fulham, who are 9th, just ahead of Aston Villa here. I think if Fulham can hang on in there in that top 9, or even try and break into the top 8 come the end of the season, that would be a fantastic achievement considering they just came up from the Championship last year. I've got to be honest and say at the start of this season I did think the yo-yo would go back down this year, but Fulham do look to have broken that trend, and maybe looking into the future things look very positive. 8th place we find Brentford, and this is where it's really close on points. I do think Brentford have a good chance of getting into the top 6 this season as well, but this form table does have them just behind Liverpool on goal difference. Got to say it's been another sensational season for Brentford this season. They've got one of my favourite strikers in the league in Ivan Toney. They've got Thomas Frank, who I respect a lot. They've been on a great journey coming up the divisions, and they're a great team to watch. They take on the top teams and sometimes beat them as well. So Brentford in 8th place with their current form, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were to sneak into that top 6 come the end. They've got massive games coming and some winnable ones as well. Liverpool comes 7th with this table. Their form over the last 10-11 games isn't perfect. Liverpool have probably been the most difficult team to predict on a weekly basis this season because they go from being brilliant back to rubbish, back to brilliant again. I mean, that 7-0 win against Manchester United, you're thinking, here we go, Liverpool are back, and then it's followed up with that 1-0 defeat at Bournemouth, and it turns out to be a bit of a false dawn. Obviously now going into the final stretch of the season, it's just about wrapping up as many points as possible and trying to finish as high as they can, but Liverpool have got to be another team that's starting to look towards next season already. Next up we have got Tottenham Hotspur, who comes 6th in this table, just behind Brighton on goal difference. Tottenham's form is a bit inconsistent at the moment. It does look like they're going to go another Premier League season without winning a trophy as well, and Antonio Conte has just been sacked at the time of recording this video. I suppose their final 10 games could go in absolutely any direction at this point. In 5th place we have Brighton then, and this would be a great story. I'd love Brighton to try and get into that top 4 as well, but this does have them in 5th. Gotta say, what a brilliant season despite the change in management this season. I thought Graham Potter was fantastic for Brighton, but what a successor De Zerbi has been for Brighton. You could even say they've been a bit better under him. Honestly, Brighton have been brilliant this season, and the form table does have them to finish ahead of Spurs and Liverpool, which should just be mind-boggling, and it's not impossible they could get into the top 4 this season. So then the top 4 in the Premier League based on if the table goes off the current form book. We've got Newcastle United to wrap up that 4th place, 3 points ahead of Brighton. You've got Man United, Man City, and then Arsenal. We'll start with Newcastle. Newcastle United have just been fantastic this season. It'd be a breath of fresh air to see them in the Champions League. Honestly, their fans deserve it. They've waited for so long for success at that club, and it does look like they will make the top 4 based on this current form. They had a fantastic start to the season where they barely seemed to lose any games. They also had that brilliant Carabao Cup run where they just fell short in the final. They did seem to have a mid-season wobble, but it does look like Newcastle United might just be getting back on track. This form table has Newcastle United to wrap up that 4th place. It has Manchester United in 3rd. Manchester United do seem to be in a little bit of a bubble at the moment in their own in 3rd place. If their form was to get worse, they could slip out of it and there could be a battle for 3rd place. But I think Manchester United wrapping up 3rd place does seem very likely at this moment in time. Got to say, in terms of this season as a whole, Erik ten Hag's done a pretty good job at this moment in time. Manchester United have obviously won the Carabao Cup this season. They've still got the Europa League and the FA Cup to fight for. And as for the Premier League, no, their title charge didn't come to fruition. But if they were to just wrap up 3rd place, that's a very good improvement. And Ten Hag is maybe taking this club forwards, despite there still being some big imperfections at Manchester United. That 7-0 at Liverpool did highlight that. Manchester City will come second here with 86 points. They're going to just fall short of Arsenal by 5 points. At this moment in time, it does seem like Arsenal are going to do it because of the gap they've opened up. But if there is a team to win their final 10-11 games in a row, it is Manchester City. The form table does have Manchester City to still have a strong end to the season here, but not enough for them to pinch the title off Arsenal. And as for Arsenal, top of the league here with 91 points. They've picked up 7 wins, 1 draw and 2 defeats in their last 10 games. And if they do that again in their final 10 games, it will get them to 91 points, which surely should be enough unless Manchester City win all of their games. Arsenal just have been fantastic this season. You cannot take it away from them, and it would be great to see them win in the Premier League after such a long wait. It's been 19 years, and honestly, at the start of the season, who called Arsenal winning the Premier League? Not me, so fair play to them. It does look like they're going to do it this year. So then guys, that wraps up today's video. Do make sure to let me know your thoughts on that table to the side of me. As I say, it might not be entirely accurate because everyone's got different fixtures to play out in this final 10-11 games. But do share your predictions down below. Do make sure, of course, to drop a like and do make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.